Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Darren Smith along with Steve Walls, my colleague and co-host, and I'd like to welcome you to the pregame cheat sheet where the Kansas City Chiefs will be hosting the Houston Texans Sunday Night Football. Of course, the kickoff is at 7:15, I believe, 7:15 or 7:20, but you can watch it on your local NBC stations. Steve, your initial thoughts on tonight's game where if Kansas City wins, they actually go from 10th to 8th place in the AFC playoff
Wow,
race.
that's not a big deal. But I think today is going to be a gut check type game, right? Like I think this is one where people say you got to let your testicles drop a little bit, and and let it go.
I
Because
don't know
at
if
the
I
end of the day,
said
at,
that.
at the end of the day, because here's what happens is you've got some people that think that this team is done for, right? It's like stick a fork in them and they're done. And I feel like at the end of the day, this team has that, what we've done in the past. They think that that's going to carry them forward, but I don't think that's the case. I feel like you're in the present and everybody's out to get you. You know,
Kansas City, though, to their credit, put themselves in a situation.
yeah,
So, it is an overused statement about it being must win. I think I
yeah,
said it
very
for
much
I
so.
said it probably the last few weeks. Patrick said it the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Um, but really, I mean, now you're just in a situation where you really have no other choice. I
yeah,
mean, the way things are playing out, with Jacksonville beating Indianapolis, and of course Indianapolis losing Daniel Jones for essentially the rest of the season. I think he
Achilles.
injured his Achilles. Uh, they have the Chargers coming in next week. Of course, the Chargers play tomorrow night
Hmm.
against the against the Philadelphia Eagles, so they could lose that game. They could lose that game at home. Come to Arrowhead on a short week outside where it's cold, and the Kansas City could split the season series with them and perhaps jump them in the AFC playoff race, and get and where now essentially they just need to win out. And
Did the Chargers play the Chargers play the coach yet, or they still have to play him?
I believe they did. I think I gotta go back and look at it, but yeah, I believe they played them already.
Okay.
They do still have to play Denver again, I believe, and so just a little round robin of stuff that uh, Kansas City, the Chargers, and the AFC West has to do. Of course,
Hmm.
the Broncos won again, beating the Raiders today in Las Vegas. So essentially, the AFC West is out of their hands. So the first time in Mahomes' career that he hasn't won the AFC West, but. Going back to tonight's game, of course, Kansas City comes into the game 6-6. The Texans are 7-5. Steve, the Texans bringing the number one defense in all of football into tonight's game. Kansas City is going to be without their left tackle and Josh Simmons, who's on the injured reserve. I believe they're going to be without Jawan Taylor in
Hmm.
tonight's game as well. And I know they sent out the inactives, but we didn't get the notification about it. But I'm not sure if Trey Smith is playing in tonight's game or not. Whether he plays or not, and we'll update you once or somebody wants to put in there about the inactives. But when we look at this matchup, Patrick's going to have backup tackles protecting him tonight
Hmm.
against the number one defense. What's your initial thoughts on that particular matchup?
Man, without he's been here before, so I mean, you got to think about it. He's been here what 2 years, 2 years, two times before in different years, right? I think it was a Super Bowl year against Tom Brady, and then it was 2 years ago where you had your left tackle go down. It's never been without Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey at the same time. So I just think they've got to figure it out.
That's another
And
statement.
yeah, and they're gonna have to figure out some different ways and to keep Mahomes from having to drop back and pass the ball, which it's hard to say. But granted, you get Patrick that has he's a draw it in the sand type of dude, meaning he's better off when he's on the move. And they've won a lot of games like that, and that's been his claim to fame since he's been in the league. It's like, all right, backyard football is what they call it. And so I think if you're pressing him to get out of the pocket and be on the move, I think that fares well for the Chiefs.
Prior conversation we just had just talked about earlier, Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor, cornerback Christian Fulton, Elijah Mitchell, Nico Remigio, and Jalen Royals are all inactive for tonight. So the Chiefs are going with three backup linemen protecting Mahomes, Jalen Moore, Wanye Morris, and guard Mike Caliendo.
Mm,
And we
that's
saw
tough.
we saw what it looked like last week against the Cowboys. Well, 10 days ago against the Cowboys. There were a couple of plays that I'm pretty sure Wanya Morris
No, of
wish
course,
he could
of
have
course.
back. Um, that's there. Will Anderson normally on the right side, and he would have been lined up against Jawan. So now it looks like he'll be lined up if he stays on that side against Jalen Moore. But with Wanya being out there and seeing what we see on film, it wouldn't surprise me if they switch and have Anderson moving around, especially knowing that you know the protection is not going to be all good. And even Matt Nagy earlier this week talked about how he thought it would be an ugly game. Now that's not something a lot of Chiefs fans were hoping to hear, but he makes it seem like it's going to be a little bit on the dire side offensively for the Chiefs today.
I don't think so. I mean, is that smoke and mirrors, right? Like, is that what you? Because to me, I feel like I said, Pat's been here before. I mean, he's dealt with it, makeshift offensive line,
Look,
and he
yeah,
had turf toe.
I mean,
He wasn't healthy.
he's been here before, and he's gotten beat up before too.
That's true.
I
Very
mean,
true.
lest we forget Black Friday
Mm.
when Wanya Morris was protecting him on that left tackle spot, and we saw how demonstrative Patrick was in that game.
Who'd they play?
They played the Raiders.
Okay.
Now they won that
Max
game,
Crosby.
but yeah, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a
Will
pretty sight,
Anderson ain't Max Crosby.
but it's still Wanya Morris.
Yeah. And here's the thing: he hasn't played much
And the Raiders ain't got the
football.
number one
Got to
defense.
remember, he hasn't played much football in the leagues yet.
Who?
Like Wanye Morris, he hasn't played. I mean, he. You got to remember, he was injured the first year. His rookie season. He didn't play much last year, and so he has. This will be his third game starting ever.
Nah, he's not. He's had a few games his rookie year when he and
Did he?
when he and oh gosh, Donovan went down with an injury.
Donovan
So
Smith. Yeah.
yeah, he went down with an injury. So look, there's a lot, and look, I know you think that Houston and Will Anderson's not that, but let's not forget what we saw on Prime. It was on Prime about 2.5 weeks ago. What they did to uh, Josh
Buffalo.
Allen.
Yeah. I still. When I was telling you. Patrick Mahomes is better than Josh Allen, right? And I mean, granted, the offensive line may differ or whatever, but I still feel like this team can get it done. Now, that being said, you've got to do some things differently. I mean, you've got to run the ball. If look, if you're able to run the ball successfully and you march up and down your first drive, you march down the field and you score a touchdown, it's like you're punching them in the mouth. It's like, all right, they not scared of us, so what we gonna do now? They're gonna have to change up the way that they're playing, and if they have to switch up, just looking at some of the games that Houston has lost this season, they've had to, of course, make adjustments, but Will Anderson didn't get off like he has against you think about Buffalo. So I think that's going to be your first priority is blocking him.
That's true, but they also had 8 sacks in that game, so it don't
Okay.
all have to come from
True. That's
him.
very, very true. You got some other guys.
So
You
I
got some other
mean,
guys.
you know, okay. So the game kicks off at 7:15. If you would like, please drop your score prediction or your game predictions in the comment section, and we'll get to it in
We got
just
some comments too.
okay. But the Chiefs lead the all-time series 8 games to 5. The last time they
Hmm.
played in the regular season was last year, around December 21st. The Chiefs won that game 27-19. In the AFC postseason, of course, the Chiefs have been undefeated against them. I know they beat them one time
Yeah.
in the playoffs in Houston. The last couple of times up here, of course, the first time they beat them up here was the first year they won the Super Bowl for only the second time in their franchise history back in 2020 or 2019 season. And of course, this past January, they beat them here 23-14. See, when we look at this, Patrick Mahomes, of course, he comes into today's game, 3,200 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Coming off of last week's performance, where or 10 days ago, when he played against the Dallas Cowboys, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was the first time in his career that he's had a 4 touchdown, no turnover game,
Yeah.
and the Chiefs have lost. If you're Patrick Mahomes, how are you approaching today's game, knowing that just like the other games have been must-win games, but now you're in a situation where you could essentially, even if they lose, they have an 11% chance of still making the playoffs, but you don't even want to put that thought in your process. So
Yeah. I mean, I think you still approach it like this. You approach it like it's day one. You can't approach it any differently because once you
but
do,
day one
once you,
didn't turn out so good for
oh
him
yeah,
either.
yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you approach it any differently, that means you've already lost the game. To me, because if you're doing anything differently, you think about how they played these games. You go and lose it to the Chargers, one possession score, right? You lose to Jacksonville, one possession. All these one possession. It's not like you've gotten just beat up. And I say that to say, you just approach it like you would any other game. I mean, it's you in the back of your mind, you know that it's a must win. You know you're in a dire situation, but like you're not gonna do anything any differently than what you always done. I mean, think about it. You are still your team is still good. Like they just haven't put it all together. And we've seen the defense play well. We've seen the offense play well. We've seen the special teams play terrible. But they've never put this season, unlike the other seasons that they've played, they haven't put them all together. Granted, minus and I would take that the Raiders game.
Yeah,
That
Raiders.
was one of the games where you had all three phases that were just clicking.
Looking at this matchup, Steve, the Texans, of course, they come in as we talked about. C.J. Stroud returned from injury last week in their win over the Indianapolis Colts. What have you seen, or what can C.J. Stroud do to, if he can, pull out a win in Arrowhead tonight? Because that would be the first time, of course, for him
Hmm.
being able to get a victory here in Arrowhead.
I think his best chance was last year. When he had with
But
Tank Dell go down.
but what does he need to do tonight,
I
though?
know, no, no, I know his best chance was last year.
Yeah.
I don't think this year he has the weapons to do it now. And then, don't get me wrong, the Chiefs come out here and play bad, then of course. But if they play solid defense, I don't think there's anything that CJ Stroud can do, that's gonna make them. 'Cause, I mean, they don't have a running game like the Colts. They don't have a
Well,
passing game like you would with Josh Allen and anybody else. And I'm not comparing CJ and Josh Allen, but I'm just saying that
no,
that
I
that their
get it.
team isn't as good as some of the other teams that these guys play.
I get it. Look, I would say due to injury, of course, their record probably is not what it should be. But their rookie running back Woody Marks has been he's been plausible. He's been passable this season again, and but and he's got the veteran Nick Chubb behind him. I mean, look, they've done well. I mean, and even when C.J. Stroud went down. David Mills stepped
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
was able to get the ball. So, and he has quality receivers. He's got obviously Dalton Schultz. He's got Nico Collins and,
Kickoff.
and Higgins. I mean, so he has weapons. He just has to have time to get it. I would say that for him to be successful would be for the Chiefs to continue to do what they haven't done the last 2 weeks, which is
Get out the
get
quarterback.
pressure
Yeah.
on the quarterback, force some sacks. They forced one turnover, I think, over the last 2 weeks, which was the first drive interception for
Mm.
Dak a couple of weeks ago, and that was about it. So uh, so I mean, it's not to say that C.J. Stroud can't have a good game because if the Chiefs don't do something different than what they've done before, now granted, the wide receivers that are playing tonight
Mm.
for the Texans are not C.D. Lamb, they're not
Most
George,
definitely not.
but they can still get you in trouble if you underestimate them.
Yeah, I like I said, Dalton Schultz to me was is I think he's a guy that you have to watch, most definitely. And I just don't like I said. I just think that their better team was last year, and then you get Tank Dell that went down, and that kind of switched things. I thought they were going to win that game, but you come in here today, and it's like, all right, you've had kind of this up and down season. C.J. Stroud was out for a couple games due to concussion, and they're trying to get back right. You're like they're on the borderline like this Chief team of making the playoffs. So they're coming in. It's like it's really do or die for us. Now their division is a little different. But I think they're coming in kind of with the same mentality that this Chiefs team has. It's like, all right, we got to get a win. But CJ Stroud, does he have to play out of his mind to get a win today? No, I don't think he does. But I feel like Trent McDuffie and
Watson.
Jalen Watson, they can't have the same type of game they had last week.
I don't expect. I think that was a one-off just because of the
Yeah,
receivers, the kind of receivers that they went up against. But one thing I will say, Stephen, and let's switch over to the offense. Let me put my phone down because I gotta ask you these questions, man. When it comes to what we saw offensively for Kansas City, now granted, Cowboys game we both agreed it was going to be a shootout, more or less, and that's what it was. 59 points being scored.
yeah,
However, that was in a dome environment. We're back home this time around. Kansas City, for whatever reason, seems to struggle. Um, lately in the second and third quarters to where
Yeah.
to where they'll win the coin toss, they'll defer, they'll make us, they'll get a stop for the opposing team, get the ball back, perhaps come down and score maybe 3 points, maybe seven, depending on how the offense looks. But then it's that second and third quarter in these last few weeks where it looks like they've gone on some kind of lull. And where do you see that, or why do you think that is, and how do they even change that up to make sure? Because one thing, and I kind of go back to, I like to use movie references from time to time. I think back to remember the Titans, and I think they were in the state championship game. The assistant to Herman Boone was played by Denzel Washington, was talking about the other team, talking about, coach, you have tendencies that people
Mm.
seem to gravitate to. It's like if you don't change it, it becomes a tell that other teams and other defenses or offenses, they can kind of root it out, so to speak, and they can catch you slipping. So how does this Kansas City offense continue to put points on the board when, in the meat of the game, the second, third quarter, instead of having it in the first quarter at the end of the game where they feel like they're trying to come back from behind?
That's interesting. And they've had multiple games, and more specifically, the game that you're talking about is Denver. I mean, no, Dallas. Um, it's weird that you have a team like that because prior seasons they were able to like flip it on and flip it off like a light switch, right? Like
Yeah.
if they were off, it was like something just kicks in gear and then they go. But this season has been the same. It's been kind of the same way at the end of the game too, where you've got to go down and score and or get in field goal range, and things haven't just gone their way. Uh, I don't know, man. Because you think about just the way that they have you look at last week, they stopped Dallas, um, and then they go down and score, and it's like, all right, I thought they were gonna roll from
Yeah.
there. Um, I mean, I don't think you play any differently. I think you continue to play the same, but it's just that second quarter where um, they haven't been able to score right before half, and we've seen it like the past few years where that's the reason why they defer where they at least get a field
Try to
goal,
get a double
some
up.
kind of
Yeah.
points, and come out and then score again. We just haven't been able to see it. I don't know if it's because teams have caught up, um, but I feel like it's got to change. I mean, the energy, because you think about when they were in Brazil, and the main thing that everyone was saying was like, we didn't have any energy. We didn't have any energy. The same thing happened in Jacksonville, where the offense spots the defense, what, two touchdowns, and then the defense kind of just implodes, and Jacksonville runs off with the game.
So that was
So,
special team blunders too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and it's kind of the same thing. Special teams hurts them too. They give these other teams really good field position. Whether it's off a punt or doing something stupid, kicking the ball out of bounds or whatever it is. So that I think that kind of has something to do with it too. But you can't afford to be flat today.
No.
You can't because the Texans aren't a bad team.
No, well,
Yeah,
they got the number one defense
yeah.
in all of football, so that right there can beat you. Steve Walls, Darren Smith, we're live inside the Arrowhead Stadium press box. They bring you the pregame cheat sheet. Of course, next week our pregame show will begin at 11 as the team hosts the Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, we'll see how this game turns out
Hmm.
and see whether or not next week, continues to be a must-win for the Kansas City Chiefs. Post-game, though, do want to let you know you can follow us on our social media platforms. We'll bring you Andy Reid, we'll bring you Patrick Mahomes, and anyone else at the podium. And of course, Steve and I will be in the locker room getting interviews with the players, and then we'll bring you our initial post-game show after the press conference. And then, of course, tomorrow night you can join Steve and myself and DJ Q along with Sean Tyler for the Red Hour from 6:30 to 7:30 on your social media platforms. Steve, X factor for you in tonight's game offensively for the Chiefs.
Mm. It's gonna have to be Patrick Mahomes, and I've gone that way the last few weeks, and the reason last week, I mean, he did what he was supposed to. Patrick did what he was supposed to do.
Did you go with Patrick last week or was it somebody else?
I went with Patrick last week,
Okay,
and
okay.
you went with like Andy or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got Patrick, man. I think even though the offensive line is banged up a little bit, I still look at Patrick. I mean, a lot of folks say he's one of the greatest football quarterbacks ever, right? I mean, so what do we think about when you think about one of the greatest ever at any given sport, right?
Figure out a way to
You
overcome.
think about Michael. No, I'm just thinking about Michael Jordan, right? Like he
Mhm.
had to make everybody around him better. Tom Brady made everybody around him better. Whether it may not be the best guys that you have at your disposal, but you still got to make them better. If you want the
Right,
greatest, you got to make them
and
better.
that's what I'm saying. But you still find a way to overcome too.
Yeah,
When situations and
of course.
things come about, you got to figure out a way to.
Of course. I
You know,
mean, it's been like that with other teams. You think about like, man, Josh Allen, right? And I hate putting Josh
yeah.
Allen, Patrick Mahomes.
Well, what he did
He's
today.
he's figuring out a way to win. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't really have a legit number one wide receiver.
true.
You know, I mean, he doesn't have a legit number one running back, but he's making things work to his advantage. Have they played the same competition that Chiefs played? Somewhat, not really. I don't think their schedule was as tough. But I think if you think about back to my X factor, Patrick Mahomes has to figure it out.
For before I give you mine, I do want to ask you though, your thoughts on Isaiah Pacheco, how he performed last week, and how you think he'll do going further.
Last week was just kind of a test. Fill it out, fill out, see, because you got to think about he was had the MCL issue, and in the back of your mind, anytime you got a knee issue, it's like, man, is it strong enough? Is it gonna hold up? I mean, he's had
And
so
I do
many.
believe we see Damian Pierce tonight, right?
Yeah, he's had so many, injuries. I mean, he had the fibula last year, and then he had the what was it before that? It was his ankle. He's had a
They
few.
did a lot.
Yeah, so I think mentally he needed last week, even though they didn't win. I mean, he needed to just get back in there. So I think they can be fine today.
He probably could avoid playing too because he wouldn't have got fined $46,000 too. That was crazy.
He got fined last week.
Yeah, for his helmet when he run out of bounds, he dropped his helmet and
Mm,
on the Cowboys defensive player. And
46K.
yeah,
Mm,
I
mm.
don't think anybody's lining up to pay that fine for him.
Yeah, who your X factor?
My X factor, I'm gonna look, man. I'm gonna go where it needs to go, man. I'm gonna go with Andy Heck. I mean, you got three backup, and look, I mean, and of course that falls under the Andy Reid and Nagy whatever. But I got to go with Andy Heck tonight because
Mm,
you got three backup linemen going up against the number one ranked defense.
mm-hmm.
So how well are you able to coach these boys up with within these 10 days since the last performance against the Cowboys? And you've seen what Houston can do on tape. I mean, we saw everybody saw what they did to Buffalo, and so if I'm Will Anderson and company on the defensive end, you know, I would have stopped by Gates last night. I'd stop by Gates today,
Mm,
and I'd have some of that classic, some of that original sauce ready to go out there, because if I'm them, I'm looking at Will Anderson, Caliendo, and Jalen Moore as barbecue chicken.
mm.
So to avoid that, I want to see how well they've been coached up this week
Okay.
because if they get to the church's offering plate, which is Patrick Mahomes, more than two times tonight, it's going to be a long night.
Mm.
Agree or disagree?
I agree. I mean, you can't afford that. I think, and we had a question on here from who's it from? Corey Narr. He said, "Do you think they would play more three tight end sets?" I mean, you have to go with that personnel because at the end of the day, you're gonna need some help.
I agree, man. But here's the thing: how can I say this without sounding like a
He
hater?
also said they can scheme around the pass rush. Andy lets it happen.
Here's the thing: as much as we feel like they need to run the football,
Hmm.
and I do believe that they will run the football, I don't think they'll be committed to running the football because at the end of the day, you gonna win or lose with Patrick.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No.
Mm.
But what I'm saying, you would think obvious running downs or rushing downs that Patrick might decide he might see something that might try to air it out, and then of course it could end up being an incomplete pass and then you find yourself in a third and long situation where it's like okay now you got to have it they know it
Yeah,
then they're gonna send the hounds after you and I mean Patrick under pressure is cool when he's got protection but when that protection breaks down early and he's running for his life things don't always turn out good.
lately,
Well, that
lately. I
well
mean,
that
like I said earlier on.
here's what have you done for me lately? So
yeah,
that's what makes sense.
like I said early on in the show, he made his claim to fame by getting out of the pocket, being forced out of the pocket, and then teams don't know what to do. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, you could be the best cornerback and best secondary in the league, but if you've got to cover your guy for more than the allotted time it takes for the
I agree.
defensive tackles to get to the quarterback, you ain't gonna be able to do it for that amount of time.
Will we see Patrick be more accurate in his deep ball passing this evening?
I mean, I feel like you will. I do. I
Okay.
think you. I mean, he has no choice.
I mean, I agree with that. I ain't
Yeah,
argue with
I mean,
that
you have
point,
no
but I
choice.
mean,
If your back's
but
up
we've
against the
seen what
wall,
we've seen.
yeah, your back's up against the wall. Like I said, and don't get me wrong, like some of those throws. I mean, you think about the throw that he had to the middle of the field to Tyquan Thornton, right? Like the one where he was rolling out to the right and is kind of throwing it back,
Mhm.
and he still gets it there, and sometimes I feel like these guys just got to keep running. Because sometimes these like Hollywood, he'll stop. Xavier, he'll stop, and you can't throw a jump ball pass to somebody that's 5'6", 5'5", right? It just doesn't pan out well, and we've seen it. So I think those guys have to get separation too.
Uh, X factor for you defensively for Kansas City tonight.
Oh man, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go with George Karlaftis.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go with George
Serious
Karlaftis.
George. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Serious
he's
George.
he's 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 got to get after the quarterback. We know we talk about Chris Jones each and every week. I do have him down for anytime sack, by the way, but I think it's gonna be George Karlaftis that has to get after the quarterback. You've got to beat your man. This is what you're getting paid for, right?
Well, I think both of them, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean you've got to if you get a one-on-one matchup, you've got to be able to do what you need to do. You
And I would have gone with George, but since you took it,
now you want to say I would have gone with Georgie? Okay,
no, I mean, look,
you funny man.
I'll go back to Chris Jones, man.
Okay.
And look, for me, it's simple, man. I bring it down to brass tacks, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with me when I say this, man. You are the highest paid defensive player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
You're the captain. You're the leader.
Mm-hmm.
You make about 32 million. You know,
That all?
you're per year. I ain't pocket watch, but it is what it is. Between 32, 35, whatever it is, you know, your stats have to reflect that.
Yeah,
And you can't every year come in talking about how you want to be in the defensive player of the year conversation,
I agree.
and you're on a milk carton, when it matters most. Now, it's not a matter of what he's done in the past, because we love Chris, respect it, but in this business, you have to update your resume every year, every game, every season.
What have you done for me lately? Did you say that?
Yeah, and also look, and I go back to what we talked about during training camp.
Mm-hmm.
He called out George, did he not?
He did.
He called him out, get 15 sacks, he said 10 and a half sacks or whatever. He signed a new contract. And look, I don't know at that time if that was just smack talk just between players and people caught it on film, if that was something serious or whatever. But at the end of the day, they both haven't lived up to their
I
contract.
mean, it's called out Drew as well. Do your job. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. First game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's Chris. I need to look. Last week after you were there last week in Dallas after the loss, thought about it being a must win. Said it will be ready. You heard it,
Trey Smith's out as well.
huh?
Trey Smith is out as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mentioned that earlier. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, bro, you are. I mean, I need you to put your money where your mouth is. I need to have a statement game from Chris Jones, because if you look at the stats, I think he's got like 20 tackles on the season. This is week 13 in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's average, maybe two tackles a week or something, or one. And
Mm.
so I need him to put up or shut up, because
Mm.
you can talk that talk.
Yeah.
And look, we like Chris. Chris will come in. He'll come in the locker room, and if he has a good game back or whatever, he'll he'll talk stuff to the reporters where we try to interview. You don't want to talk because of for whatever reason. Like, bro, this is what you this is your responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. So I'm requiring you to put up a big game tonight, because based on what you said last week in Dallas, how important this game is and what you all are going to do. I need to see. I mean, I need what you said at the podium. Transfer that to the field tonight.
Yeah, I mean that's the defensive line as a whole. I mean, you still got Charles Minihue. He ain't
No,
exempt.
no, no. Well,
I mean, he ain't
no,
exempt
no,
either.
no, no, no. You went with Charles. I mean, you went with George. I went with Chris. Now, if you want to do the defensive line, you could have done that because you
No,
always do that.
I'm just saying
But yeah.
as a whole.
Oh no,
Those,
no, no.
those,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, them
Mike Davis, all
guys.
of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, no. I mean, I agree, but to me, it all starts and ends with Chris Jones.
yeah.
Because look, if it was the Los Angeles Rams and Aaron Donald says it starts with me,
Mm.
and he's a 3 or 4 time.
Defense player of the year.
And if Chris talking like he wants to be there in that conversation, your play has to dictate it.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
there's a reason why Miles Garrett is 20 sacks is going to be the defense player of the year on a 3 and 4 on a 3-win team right now.
Hmm. You even look at some guys. we mentioned
I'm
it- we
just
mentioned we mentioned them earlier. We talked about my guy in Las Vegas. I mean,
Crosby.
these guys are on teams where they know they're not winning. So and they
and
still
they
put in work.
and they still putting in all pro
Hmm.
Pro Bowl status type stats.
Hmm. Most definitely.
We can't. Yeah, honestly, right about now, outside of last week's game, I couldn't put anybody except for with the maybe exception of Trent McDuffie, getting Pro Bowl votes.
Come on, defensively.
Defensively, yes,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, so that's so overall. Your biggest X factor in tonight's game, because and I'm gonna go ahead you on this because I've been thinking about it. It's gonna be Arrowhead Stadium. It's gonna be the crowd. Because if the crowd can do what they did against the Colts,
They were down 20-9.
you know.
Yeah,
Now here's the thing: you can't afford to be down 29 in this against this team.
yeah,
This team got a defense, and the coach knows that he needs to win this game. It's smart that he will run the football. There's
yeah.
no
Most
problem
definitely.
doing that.
Most definitely.
I can't understand why they didn't give the ball to Jonathan Taylor a
We
couple
know
more
why.
times. Yeah, I know.
We know why.
I mean, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah,
That's my parlay that day. But
yeah.
yeah. So for me, it's the Arrowhead Stadium crowd. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the crowd. I mean, they go and they go as this crowd pushes them. And I remember they were down 20-9 in the fourth quarter and saw what the crowd was doing. And you talk about Chris Jones, he's hyping the crowd, making sure that they are, firing up the defense so that they can't hear. It got to be old. And that's what takes you back to old school Arrowhead. I'm talking about the late 90s where it's deafening and people didn't want to come play here.
Quick question before we get to the prediction. Steve Spagnuolo, did he learn a lesson in last week's loss against the Cowboys?
As far as what?
Maybe changing some things up. Again,
No.
everybody knows what you do, but it's not like you can't change it from week to week.
Nah, I think
Nothing. All right.
he's been win or die. Put them guys on an island.
Hey, I get it. I get it. I mean, if you face a team like that in the playoffs, you better come up with something better because
Uh,
they go.
nah, you live and die. I mean, you go back to I even go back to when what was that 2021 with Jamar
Hold on,
Chase
hold on,
200
hold
yards.
on, hold
Remember
on.
that game?
You know how many times it took us to finally beat the Bengals when it mattered? Okay,
Yeah,
they beat them twice in the regular season. They beat them the first time in the playoffs, and then the Chiefs had to get them I think the following year, the year after that in the
I mean,
playoffs. So, I mean,
we've seen receivers get off on this Chiefs team. I mean, think about
I
when
get it.
when the Raiders had Devontae Adams and what he did.
I mean, it's Devontae Adams.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I get you. I get you. Prediction for tonight's game. With
Um,
the score,
yeah, I got the Chiefs. I think it's gonna be a close one. Um,
is it a race to 30?
Most definitely, it's always a race to 30, but can the Chiefs get there? I think the line is 41 and a half.
Huh?
Um, I've got them getting over. I've got to get over 41. I think the Chiefs 27, um, Texans 20.
Okay. I got Kansas City winning. I got 31-17.
Mm,
I think it's going to be imperative on Kansas City to get up and they got to find a way to keep their momentum going. They got to find a way to keep
yeah,
keep having those those gaps, those huge gaps against the defense and just against any team though. You can't score early and then you just find yourself struggling on offense because of the play calling. And look, and here's one other thing. I keep hearing these reports, reading these reports about Matt Nagy's name being out there, head coach position.
I'll let you.
It always look. It always dawns on me how his name is in the discussion for head coach, but everybody seems to agree that Andy Reid is the one that calls the plays. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that he's doing
He's the
that is putting
manager.
himself that is
What
putting
they
himself
say,
out.
Alex Smith, game manager.
Well, no, because I'm just saying because look, I know a guy that just happened to be in Chicago right now, but I'm just saying I know he was a OC here. You know what I'm saying? Coach Mahomes to not one but two MVPs, couple of Super Bowl wins, and couldn't get a head coaching
We know
job.
what it is.
But but all of a sudden, this, and everybody said that he wasn't calling the plays, it was Andy. So we see what the Chiefs' offense looked like under this regime, and somehow he's out there. I mean, we saw what he did as a head coach with the Bears too, But the
See where
guy
they
that was
at.
here, the guy that was here is the running backs coach up there. And they got the number one rushing offense in the entire NFL. I'm just saying, somebody got to help me figure this out.
It's a head scratcher.
Especially if Andy Reid is the one that's calling all the
It's a
plays.
head scratcher. I mean, we know what it is, but at the end of the day, they got to
I
win
had
this
to get
game
that out
tonight.
there. I had to sit on my own couch and
Yeah.
just put that out there. We got any comments before we get out of here?
Not really, man. It's Sarah 73 said it's do or die. Says she's praying for a win. Harris Park says next man up. They're all pros. Jesse Scott says Chiefs. Harris Park says KC not lost because of personnel. They lost because of penalties and no discipline. I mean, it has been some crazy penalties.
Oh yeah. That's the other thing that they got to
Yeah.
hit. That now that could be key on whether or not, and that's on the offensive line. Goes back to heck, the penalties right there on offense. That's what's going to really be. Those are drive killers. And so
Yeah.
if Kansas City can't avoid those, it's going to be a long night. Once again, the game will be kicking off in about 15 minutes. You can watch it on NBC or Peacock. Stephen, of course, will join us post game. We'll bring you Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and other players at the podium. We'll be in the locker rooms. Join us for the Red Hour tomorrow night. Myself, Steve Walls, DJ Q, Sean Tyler, 6:30 to 7:30. And Steve, before we get out of here, man, let's thank our sponsors.
I appreciate my guys over at Dillard's on the Roaster. They always take care of your boy for my game day look. So make sure you go check them out. Have Christmas shopping you got to get done. Go holler at them. Dillard's over is on the Roaster. Talk to my guy Herman Brown over in men's department.
That's it.
Hmm. Nah,
So, I always, as always, we like to thank Gates Barbecue. 5 locations. Hopefully, you all went out there, and sometimes they got you some pregame meal. I hooked up Tony Dungy this afternoon. He wanted a beef on bun. Took it to him personally, and he enjoyed it. So I think he's got Kansas City winning. He told me, oh no, but I'm pretty sure he's going to mention it in just a little bit on Sunday Night America. So you didn't hear from me, but he's got the Chiefs tonight. And also want to thank Todd White and Todd's Clothing and Taylor Suits getting me fit for the night. I had a gentleman from the Houston media that was like, "You're that guy." It's like such and such Mason said you owe some gates. I'm trying to figure out how I owe somebody some gates, but he had stopped by there today and got some suits from him, and the guy said, "Tell Darren he owes me some gates." I'm like, "I don't owe him nothing," so, but I appreciate him, taking you by it. So anyway, they're located 2 locations in the Kansas City area. For Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Make sure you follow us on social media at Steve Walls KC, at Darren Smith NFL. We will be back post game, but join us next week at 11 a.m. as we bring you the pregame cheat sheet where the Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and hopefully their playoff life will be extended for another week. So for Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the game.